let's get this going. So basically, this is the agenda for today. So we have a couple of news. We have reminders. We have the release improvements for May. So what have we been working on this month that will be released to the server? Demo, questions and answers, and next priorities for next month. So this is the agenda of the day. Let's get started. First news is that we have 2 new villages joining Helpful Village.
Hey, Union County, Ohio.
Yeah, Union County, neighbor to neighbor, Ohio. And then Sisters Village is Sisters, Oregon. So, so Union County was an existing village that is migrating from a different provider. Sisters is they just got started. They quite interestingly, it is age-friendly sisters, and they put in a grant request for coronavirus, COVID-19 or something, and they got it started that way because the virus situation made it needed to have social connection, and the village was a good solution for them, and so they're ramping up.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just a list of resources. Joanne, who's national coordinator of the group, and then basically letting you know that there's another webinar next week, next Wednesday. And then here the different email addresses and links to how to send our customer support requests to that email address, and how to get onto our Slack, and how to submit improvement ideas. We will explain this later today, but just added here's the slide so that if you go back to this presentation, you have these links available, made available for you.
Manuel, just so you know, there's other people on the other Zoom from the email link that you sent. I got off of that and went to the Slack. So not everybody knows to join from the Slack. Okay.
Jake, if you can go to Slack and post, get the people that are there and let them know, share the right link to the Zoom meeting, that would be great.
I got redirected from the email, Manuel. This is Teresa.
I didn't. I had to get off and go to Slack.
Okay.
So.
Okay, what's the right?
I got redirected from the email.
Okay. Well, then I think Jake is going to help the other people that are, need to switch. But thank you for letting us know. Okay. So here's a reminder also about the Village to Village webinar. So we do 2 webinars a month. The 3rd Wednesday of the month is today is a release webinar where we explain what's new, the new announcements we're making to our software package. And next week is a webinar that is a little more accessible in the sense that it's more questions and answers with villages. So if you find that today it goes a little bit fast, don't worry. Next week there's another opportunity to interact on a better pace. If you have questions or topics you want to discuss next week, you can also send them to support@helpfulvillage.com. Either you let us know at Helpful Village, or you can also let Joanne know either on Slack or by email. And basically with Joanne, Joanne is the host for next week's webinar, and we'll work on that together. Okay, this is a reminder of a link to, just letting all villages know that there is a long library of training documents. This is also where I wanted to say that Carlisle, that, she introduced herself earlier. She's leading this effort. So basically, she's working on improving the learning experience. So we have a lot of training documents, but she's working even further to, make sure that there's nothing missing and that there is easy for you to find all the information you need. We have been working also on our YouTube channel. So here is a link to a YouTube channel for Helpful Village. And basically there you can find training documents and all the recordings of these webinars. So you may click on that link, and when we will post this presentation on Slack after the meeting. So with this link, you can go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and you will be notified every time there is a new video available. So this in the reminders aspect. This is not a reminder anymore, but this is kind of an announcement of the new training documents that have been added this month. So this is part of the learning experience that I was just mentioning. So essentially we have 4 new documents that we have added this month. There is a new user profile document. So basically it's a document that is intended for members. It's kind of a how-to connect to your village website, and then how to set up your user profile, how to set up your volunteer activities, how would the member interact with the website themselves to set up their profile. And then we have updated the Stripe integration doc for the online payments. We have updated the information in there, and then we added a new document about how to create a Gmail account. So that was interesting. It's like we had a question from a village about members that don't have email addresses, and then what could they do with them? And it's an interesting conversation. In some cases, I think it's a good idea for the village to help the member create a Gmail address. So that's very easy with the training document we provide, if they think the member can get onto it. In other cases, well, they won't have any email at all, but we try to help with this. The fourth training document is not even a training document. It's a little bit different, and it's something very interesting. It's actually Carlisle that has been working on this document. Is about how to explain what are the benefits of having your members logging in to Helpful Village. So we have many villages across the nation. In some of them, the members log in. In some of them, it's only volunteers log in. So basically, we just put together a document saying, well, if your village is thinking if they should invite their members to log in or not, we just put together a presentation saying, well, these are the benefits you can consider. Obviously, there is training for their members that you may need to do. But if you decide to go that way, it's a list of benefits of doing that. So at this point, Carlisle was working on this document, and she's going to present it right now. And we will also make it available after the meeting on the documents library. So Carlisle, if you're ready, just operate the slides, but you will be presenting next. Perfect. Let's go at it.
Yeah, so there are a lot of benefits, not just for members, but for village members and village coordinators for having members logging into Helpful Village. So I will continue to talk about these. As far as just members go, if a member can log on and create their own profile photo and their own biography, I think that they can feel a lot more included and part of the community. Along with that, they have 24/7 access to personal information such as membership, volunteering, renewals, and their personal calendar. They can sign up for events and add service requests quickly without having to call an office. And they can also access a village talk in a way to also be more involved. And as far as, here's like an example of an online service available to members. So if they log in themselves, they can pay for their own membership so they don't have to take the extra step of going through another person. And here is a profile. This is my profile where someone could add a picture and a little bit about them to be more in tune with their community. And as far as combined benefits for members and coordinators together, there's reduced time spent trying to get a hold of different people because there's no need to call if someone can register
your meeting ID followed by pound
for an event themselves. Oh, you're good. And then they can also, like I already said, renew their membership and pay fees online. And this all results in more independent members that need less managing, which is great for everybody, and less staff needed to coordinate all these member needs because they can do a lot of these things themselves. And as far as like just coordinators go, with members logging in to Helpful Village themselves, they can improve the quality of the members' experience and increase the amount of engagement because they can see themselves what's going on in their village themselves without having to call. And this also, the issue of duplicates, it makes it so this isn't as big of an issue because if they register themselves, there's not some blank name with incomplete data. So there won't be 2 people registered for an event when it's really 1 person. And this gives coordinators more time to focus on high-level goals.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So this is about it. As thank you, Carlisle, for going through it. As I said before, we will make it available and share with villages this document online. If you want to start this conversation within your village board, or you feel free to use that document to for that conversation. Obviously. There are pros and cons for everything. A con may be that, you need to go through the effort of training your members. The pros is clearly that, well, the future is that, older adults will be asking for an online connection because this is, the the internet is everywhere today. People that are getting off their work experience and joining a village will be expecting an online interaction in the same way they interact with their bank online and many other things online. So they will be asking for that more. So the future is seniors online, and the sooner you get started, I think the better it is. So if you want to discuss that, or if you have questions you want to go through that with our team, just let us know, because we want to help you bring your members online. Okay, thank you, Carla. And now we're moving on to a different topic and a different person presenting. So at this point, we're going to present our new customer support process. So what we were doing before is that essentially, villages were sending emails to our team, basically with questions, requests, etc. And then basically we were kind of responding one email at a time or something. But obviously with, the company has been growing, adding more villages month after month. And then we realized it was time to get more organized, more transparent, and have a faster response. So we have been redesigning the customer support process. And basically this is something that Jake is leading, and he will be explaining how the new customer support process works. So Jake, if you're ready, I'll do the same as Carla. I can operate the slides, but the stage is yours.
Awesome. So we recently started using a professional customer service software called Zendesk. So I just wanted to walk you guys a little through the process. So all the emails are going to be sent into support@helpfulvillage.com. And once we receive your email on there, then you'll get a confirmation with a ticket number. And that is really helpful on our side too, because we're able to keep track of everything. And if we need to reference anything, then we can use that number. Then when we reply to you, you're going to see our reply followed by the whole so that you can stay up to date with the whole conversation that we have. Now, when we add new stuff to the website, obviously there's going to be some bugs in it, and we think it's super helpful when you guys let us know so we can fix it. One tough thing though is a bad bug report. As you can see in this email, the message is my email messenger isn't working. It's just, the bad part is it's not very specific, and then it's really hard to go in and reproduce it on our end, and it ends up taking up to 5 or 6 different emails where we could have handled it in just 1 or 2. Now this is an example of a good bug report. As you can see, they added a link in there, some screenshots, and it's really specific. They walk through all of the steps that they took to get there. So it's super easy for us to take it, reproduce it on our end, and then get back to you with the problem fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. If I can jump in also, Jake, that's great what you said. I wanted to add a bit more detail about reproducible. Is that when we're, a bug is sent to us, as Jake said, it's really important to be very specific and explain clearly what the problem is. And what will happen on our end is that at first, the first point of contact is Jake will go over that to see if we have all the necessary information. The next step is that he's going to try to have the same bug on our demo site, on our test site, to see if it's something that happens not only on your platform, but also on our platform. So when he's able to reproduce, then he reports to the tech team saying, well, I tried it myself, and yes, I know exactly how this works. So basically what I mean is that for villages that want to have their problem solved quickly, you need to make sure that you're able to explain, Jake, or our team, how to have the same bug on our side also, because when he gets it done, then he can pass it on to the tech team. Okay, Jake, we're back to you.
Awesome. So we just wanted to kind of drive home that all the questions and bug reports are sent to support@helpvillage.com, and then all the new website improvement ideas are sent to ask.helpvillage.
Yeah, so that's perfect. So just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that the support is an email that you're sending, right? And the second one is a website where you go in and submit a request. So they're a little different, and they go to different systems. Okay, Jake.
So what's going to happen to all of the that spreadsheet we've had for a couple years with 400 requests on it?
Absolutely. So we're gonna go through that. Jake is gonna get there in a few slides.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So the reason that we split this up and are sending it to 2 different areas is so that we can create a faster turnaround time to answer you guys, and it keeps it a lot more organized so nothing is forgotten about. But the biggest thing is we want to provide you guys a bug-free environment. We want to master what we already have. So that's going to be most of our focus right now. And then once we get all of that together, then we will shift our focus to all the improvement requests so that we can give you guys a website that you can work seamlessly on.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to show you guys a view of when you send something in ask.helpfulvillage. It'll send you to a form where you can enter in all your info, your improvement idea for the website, and then what effect it might have on your guys' office. And it's going to shoot into a Google Sheet, as you can see on the right, where we can see it, and we are going to give it a priority.
Mhm.
So we prioritized 1 through 5, 1 being very urgent, 5 not so urgent. So the customer success team goes in every 2 days and gives all the new tickets a priority. And then the tech team comes in after that and gives them all a final priority. And then every month we're going to release 5 priority 1 items, and they will be released every month at the webinar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So this is where I also wanted to go back to the question that was just asked, right? Because this process we tried in the past, now we just want to manage it better, right? So that we have a new form and a new sheet that we're managing, and there was another sheet that we had in the past. So both sheets are still valid. Obviously, what happened with the first sheet is that, I mean, it's very easy to have an idea, right? It's like the Christmas wish list. It's like, oh, it would be great if we do this and if we do that. So suddenly some villages were having a ton of ideas, which is great. But it was a little hard for us to keep up with kind of everyone's ideas at the same time. So basically we lost a little bit track of the first sheet. We still have all those suggestions, but some of them are completed. Some of them maybe are outdated, are not really present anymore. So what we're doing is we're starting with a clean slate, right, on a new sheet. And basically what we're gonna do is that we're gonna make available the older sheet also. So if you have your questions that you have suggested there, just let Jake about those. He's saying, well, I went on to the old spreadsheet file, and there is improvement idea number 237 that I think really belongs to the new list. So it's really important for me to do that. And then, Jake will make sure that it gets on the new list. So basically we have a transitioning of lists. The other thing that I want to say is that we're much more optimistic that the new list will work better, just because we have these 2 rounds of priority, right? What happened before is that I was trying to personally go over all the priorities myself, and it, kind of a busy guy. So it got a little bit out of control. Now what we're doing is 2 rounds on priorities. So basically, the kind of customer support team, Jake and Carlisle are doing a first triage of those improvement ideas with this first column. And basically, attract my attention to those improvement ideas that are more urgent, so that basically, just saving me time and allows us to have a better, management of the sheet.
So will we have access to the spreadsheet so
Yes.
that we don't duplicate items?
Yes.
Like if I have an idea, I can go look at the spreadsheet
Yes.
to see if it's already there?
Excellent question. Yeah. So let me basically
So
on this slideshow at the beginning where I have the the resources. We'll publish this presentation on Slack, and then basically you have the links to the old sheet and to the new sheet. Okay, but basically
Manuel?
the
Go
whole
ahead.
thing is that the new sheet is kind of, well, we're starting clean, and second is definitely keep in touch with Jake about what ideas are more important to you, and then help him understand why it's such a priority, etc. And then basically he's doing this first round, and and then basically I'll jump in the conversation a little bit later on. So I mean, we're excited about having this more managed business process. So that was good.
Manuel,
Yes.
question on your point system. So you're going to implement 5 priority ones each month.
Yes.
What happens to all those other ones that are 2s through 5s?
Yeah, well then essentially it's I mean, it just, we have a bucket of good ideas, right? I mean, and we have a limited amount of time every month.
Yep.
So we always want to do the more important ones or urgent ones. So the list is constantly prioritized.
But do you reprioritize?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
So,
All right.
every time, and then we want to do that with you too. You know what I mean is that just if you have submitted several, I mean, villages submit different types of ideas. Sometimes it's like, oh, this is an improvement idea, but that I really need because this would be great, and this would save me 4 hours a month. And the same person can have another improvement idea that is saying, well, I mean, for this term, I think it would be better to use a different word, but I can live with it. It's not going to change my life. So, so basically, feel free also to talk with our, customer service team and let them know, well, this is the request that is really important to me. So if you can, help them understand what is, what should be a 1. And once the customer support team has it on a priority 1, well, they're gonna, come back to me and say, well, this one is really, I understand why it's such an improvement for the village. It would be great to have that in the June release.
Right. So you said that the priority is going to be based on your business needs.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously the Helpful Village business needs is making our villages successful, right?
Correct. But my point is if we go in and we look at the list and our improvement is already on there.
Yeah.
How do we, if 30 of us like that improvement, how do we let you know that there are 30 people?
Well, the thing is, what I was saying is that don't hesitate to get in touch with our support team, right? Jake in particular. And then, if he hears from 30 villages saying, well, this request is really something that we need, well, then, he would certainly, give it more attention and then raise the priority level of that task. So yeah.
You don't want us to add the same thing again. You just want us to let you know that.
Exactly. Don't add it again. If it's the exact same, we prefer having the same item, but you can kind of +1 an idea. You can go back to Jake and maybe we will add another column to the.
That would be good.
It's a great point. We could have another column on that sheet saying, well, these are the villages that have expressed interest in this idea. So he will, he can add that to the file. And then if we see, there is an idea where there's 10 people that want it, it's like, well, maybe, that will help raise in the priority.
Even if it's, like a counter or a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Thank you for the suggestion. I mean, it's something that we kind of were doing on our gut feeling, kind of, when we hear about something several times, when we hear that it's saving a lot of time for the village, it's really important to the business process, they were prioritized, but the number of villages asking for it is something that we're doing intuitively, but we can do more systematically. So it's a great idea.
Manuel?
Yes.
I have a question or a suggestion. I was going to say, rather than having, however many people send Jake separate emails, which will be more time consuming for him, you guys could also maybe send us an email with your top ones that you're iffy about, if you should move with, and then let us vote on them.
Yeah.
And that would move it down to 1 email.
Yeah. So we're making this list available at all times, right? So you can go, and you have the link and you can go and see what are the current number 1s. And then, number 2s and 3s, etc. And then, at that point, get back to us and say, well, you have this one on 3, but, for this reason, I think it should be a 2 or a 1 because, we would need that one for next month.
Right. I just thought it might save Jake from getting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a great point. It's a great point. And it's connecting with the previous question also about, should we submit the same question with a different number? It's now, we want to save as much time as possible for our team on Jake's side, and exchanging. Maybe at some point you can have a conversation on Slack if that's saving time for Jake. If villages want to have a conversation about, well, what do you think about this improvement idea? And then we have 10 people supporting it, then Jake can hear it from there. So, but it's a great point.
I just point out our time.
Yeah.
We're halfway, more than halfway. So I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Joanne. Yeah, absolutely. So we can move on. But yeah, we will release this new improvement process and do this fine tuning. But thank you for all your feedback. And then let's move on with the meeting. And then we're going to move on to the release notes. So these are the improvements that have been added to the platform this month, and we can get started with that. Okay, so this one is a field that is now accessible on the general tab of the user. So before that, you know that members can edit their bio on their personal profile. But in some cases, some members cannot either not go to the website and type it themselves, or an admin can see it and there is a typo or something. So now it's also available on the admin side. So if you're an admin and you have a member mentioning that they need the admin to edit their bio, it can be done from the general tab. We added another field that is a little bit a sad field, but that is necessary, is that on the same general tab under more, there is also the possibility now to mark someone as deceased. So we already had management of deceased members, right, as a status for membership. But in this case, it's also interesting because it will apply for anyone in the database. So it can be a volunteer or a donor, etc. And this field is really important. We will be making further improvements, but it's essentially that we don't want you to send MailChimp messages or email messages to people that are deceased, or solicitations for donations, kind of stuff, bad taste we have heard from villages. So basically this is something that will have other improvements in the future for mailing lists and stuff like that, so that we don't do those faux pas.
And well, what happens if they're the lead or the primary person of a household membership?
Yeah, good question. So in the case of a membership, there is a process that is documented on the training docs. So the suggestion in short is the following, is that you have a household membership. You go to the member profile of that person and you set that person, you change the status from active to deceased. And that will synchronize with this checkbox anyways. And then basically that's gonna, this person membership status will be correct. For the associated member, so the surviving member, what we're gonna do is kind of set that household membership for that person as dropped, kind of that household membership stops at that date, and they start on an individual membership from, after the date of deceased. There's a process and it's documented. So if you have questions about it, same thing, you can email support@Helpful Village, and I'm sure Jake can point you to the right, training document. But kind of the process for deceased members was handled already before. This new addition this month is essentially for other people that were not members, but we still want to know that they're deceased. Like if it was a previous donor, we don't want to keep them, soliciting them if he's no longer with us. Okay, so the next one is an improvement we did after a conversation with Jim from Taos. And this is an information that you have both on the user profile. So the volunteer can go to his user profile and set up his vacation dates. They no longer need to contact the office and let them know, well, I'm on vacation from this date to that date. The vacation period can be done on both sides, on the user profile or by an admin on the admin profile. That was already the case before. The improvement this month is that the checkbox there of the activation of the vacation period was kept active even past the end date of the vacation, right? So now what we do is that the server goes in every night and then unchecks that checkbox once the vacation is over, right? So that just allows for a cleaner, view of the vacation period of people. Nobody can be actively on vacation if their vacation ended, yesterday. It's another one of our conversations with Taos. It's a small improvement, but it's kind of interesting. So in this case is what happens when you're creating a service request. Most of the time you create a service request in the future because you're looking for a volunteer and say, well, next Wednesday, it would be great if we find a volunteer for pet care. But in some cases, and this is the one that is described here, is that you're creating a service request in the past. It's just because you heard from a volunteer that, called the office or sent an email saying, oh, you know what, I did this for this member yesterday, right? And you still want to record that because that counts towards your numbers. It's something that the village did for that member, but just heard about it a little bit too late or after the fact. So you can do that. And now when you go on Helpful Village and create a service request in the past, we don't default it to open because it cannot be open in the past. Open means that it's, awaiting a volunteer to fulfill. So we're going to set it to not fulfilled at first. And the next step is to usually create a service request. The status will be not fulfilled. And the next thing that you want to do is that search the volunteer that did it, enter, and that the status will change from not fulfilled to matched. And then basically, there's the usual service evaluation process where, we're going to ask them how did it go. So, so basically just a cleaner way to enter service requests that happened in the past and the village heard about them after the fact. Okay, next one. So we're moving from Taos, New Mexico to Portland, Oregon for this new suggestion. So it's essentially this service evaluation after a service request is completed. You can set up an automatic email that goes out to members and to volunteers. And that looks a little bit like this. Like the volunteer can go in and say, well, things went well, no problem. Things were okay. However, there was a minor issue or things did not go well. So that existed before. The improvement that we did this month is that now we added the possibility for a volunteer to enter the approximate mileage that was, of that request. Sometimes the villages receive either grants or, they just need to report on the mileage. So there's an additional field on the evaluation form. Now, obviously, the other thing is that this is a field that is conditional. It will only appear on transportation requests, right? So obviously, we will not be asking the volunteer for mileage if what they did was fixing the person's iPad or computer. So on transportation requests, the volunteer will be able to report mileage. Okay, this is an improvement. The next improvement is something we did for Stripe. Stripe is the online payments. And basically it's about the monthly payment. So every time you can set up your members to pay monthly with their credit card automatically. It's something you do on Helpful Village. And then basically Helpful Village works in collaboration with Stripe. Stripe is withdrawing the money from the credit card automatically and then, letting Helpful Village know so that we can update the person's payment records. So the improvement of this month is that the way it is reported on Stripe is that we're adding the name of the payer to the monthly payment. So before, we had something like, invoice something, whatever weird number. And now we have an invoice number with just the member. So this is something that was asked for by the accountant of Marine Villages in California. Just makes her life easier to reconcile payments, when if she has the name of the person that is related to it. Okay, now we are going to the next improvement. So this is about rights and management, right? So there are different management rights and roles. So admins can do everything, but we really like when you involve other volunteers or people that have different tasks within the village and they have different manager rights. In this case, there is the web pages manager. It says you can designate someone a web pages manager can go in and edit the website. They cannot look at member profiles, records, or payments, or other things, but they can manage the website. But we heard about this village that they had a person that is in charge of the newsletter for that village. And now what we did is that from this month's release, if you have web pages manager, you're also able to go to the newsletters area and add a newsletter file to the website. So, more power to the manager. Okay, this is an improvement that we discussed with Northwest Neighbors in Washington, D.C. It's essentially when you're editing the email, it's actually editable pages more specifically, but we did that for the email messenger too. So what happened to her is that she was, working on the website, right? And then, adding more content, text, images, etc. And sometimes you keep working and forget to save what you're doing. And then when you're editing the website, sometimes you can spend quite some time adding text, etc. And she was not, forgot to save. And I don't know, maybe she lost her connection or something happened, but basically she lost some of her work and we didn't like that. So basically what we're adding this month is that when you're working on your editable pages, we will do an auto save of that page every 5 minutes. So you don't, if you're working on a website, you can keep working. And then basically, even if you have not pushed on the save button. But basically that we will save that for you every 5 minutes. At the same time, anytime you are done with that work, we still invite you to click on save because we don't want you to lose anything. But it's kind of a backup solution that can save you some time. This one will we go quickly with this one because this was a bug that was annoying. Is basically when you were sending emails out with the email messenger and you were saving as drafts, in some cases it was not displaying the right information, right? So we have, you can send an email messenger to a mailing list or to a tag group of people, and we were not always saving the right information when you were trying to save that as a draft, and we just solved it this week. This is more like a bug report, but just wanted to let everyone know about it. This one is a newer thing. So this is something we discussed with essentially San Francisco and Sausalito. It's about adding, that you can set up an online meeting button on your events. You can set up your, if you're using Zoom meeting or Google Meet or anything, you can add them to the event. And then basically when people are logged in, they can see the button to join that meeting at that time. That link is kind of a little bit, you need to be careful with the, Zoom meeting links and Google links. Because if you publish them on the event website publicly, to anonymous people can use it and then join that meeting. It's like that's now called, Zoom bombing or something. So we don't make that link public. Is only visible for people that are logged into the website, so they're trusted. And now what we added this month is that we are also including it in the reminder email. So you can send a reminder email to the event participants one day before the event. And we are adding this link to the online meeting on the email, but only to trusted people. Basically, if you're, if we're sending the reminder and we know that that person is an active member, or we know that person is an active volunteer, or if we know that that person was registered for that event by an admin. So in all those three cases, and we assume that is people that is safe to share that meeting link with, and now it will go out on on the emails, the reminder emails to them.
Manuel,
Yes.
on that, when you click on that link, does it take you to the Zoom meeting, or does it
Yes.
take you to sign into the website first?
No. Yeah, great question, Mark. It's a link to the Zoom meeting. They don't need to log into the website.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Manuel?
Yes.
It's Bonnie, Capital City Village.
Hey, Bonnie.
You said that this goes on the reminder that goes the day before.
Yeah.
But you said it only goes to active members, active volunteers, or people who were registered by admins.
Yes.
But it does not go to people who RSVP'd who do not fit any of those qualifications.
Exactly. Yeah, great question, Bonnie. The thing, what happens is that what we didn't want is that if there is a hacker of some sort, right, that goes into an open, event that is open registration for anyone, right? And then he goes in, we don't know that person, then he receives the Zoom meeting link and he can, basically join that meeting. It's annoying. It's just that. So basically that was the reason why we felt it was safer to only share it with people that were kind of known and trusted.
Well, we have a lot of prospective members who RSVP to programs. And so that means that we'll still continue to need to manually send that link to them.
It's a great point, Bonnie. Basically, yes, at this point with the current status is yes. This is what we added is, what we considered were safe to people to send. Now, if you have other ideas about other people you think it's safe to send that link to, I'm interested in that. Maybe there is a way if you have something like, if they are on our prospects list, then we want something like that. So basically what I would say is that, get in touch with our team about the improvement ideas. And then if you have a specific case where you think, it would be useful for us to include that link. And we think these people are known and safe because for this reason we have them on our database under this, you know, category or something. That can help us do it. Could also be done with a tag. You know, I'm interested in that idea. Maybe Bonnie, you know what we can do? That I'd suggest we go on Slack and there is an improvement ideas channel. When, you know, we usually use the improvement ideas spreadsheet file when we know what it is exactly, and some ideas need a little bit more discussion, and I like to start those discussions on Slack. So maybe we could go there and you have an idea of, well, in which other cases we could include that link. We're happy to start the conversation there.
Okay, I will do that.
Perfect, great. Okay, this is
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you covered this or not. This is Lynn Murray from News Neighbors in Oriental, North Carolina. I wondered, what could the email recipient of forward their email to someone else and with the link active? Yeah, absolutely. So then it doesn't seem to me that it's very secure.
No, yeah, you're right.
I actually did this because we're having a lunch and learn tomorrow. I'm Diana, Clayton Valley Village. And what I did was I put in the email, please do not share this with anybody. But somebody could do it anyway, but. Yeah, exactly. Great point, both of you. Definitely. You know what I mean? There is also this balance between, you know, security and usefulness, or, you know, ease of use. Definitely, if people forward that email, is a challenge. There are always more security topics. There are some recommendations. If you're really, you know, concerned about the Zoom security, you know, or the link. I know people kind of change their Zoom link for every meeting. You know, it doesn't need to be the same or stuff like that, so that you have increased security measures. Definitely, if you forward the email, that it contains a link. It's interesting. I don't know. Same thing, you know, maybe what we can do is that if you want to, you know, comment on that and start a conversation on Slack, we're happy to review that. And then, you know, maybe if you think it's necessary to have an option for your village to opt out that, you know, include that in the link for the email, just let us know.
I think in the chat, there's a viable suggestion, which is just enable the waiting room in your Zoom meetings.
Yeah, great point, Joanne.
I think we're running out of time again, so.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Manuel, one other thing you can do in Zoom, it's meeting by meeting, but you can turn off the rename feature so that somebody can't come in and grab a name and rename themselves to make themselves look known. That's part of what happens with Zoom bombing.
Yeah. Yes. So basically, this is a good example of, you know, when we want to hear from villages, you know, about, you know, I mean, there's not an absolute good answer to that. You know what I mean? Is that there are a lot of good ideas. Kind of the waiting room is something that is good. Changing the meeting link can be interesting, but just, you know, we're happy to hear from you, other villages, if you think we can do other improvements, or you know, maybe add a setting for your village to opt in or opt out that feature. Just let us know. We're just trying to do the better we can. Anyways, it was a good point and good discussion, but we need to move on because I still have super exciting stuff to share with you. Okay, next improvement is the check-in feature. So this is, you know, where a volunteer can check with a member about how is the, you know, how they're doing, if they need groceries or transport or medication or something. And we added a new improvement there, is that most of the time, what I think it works best is either the member self-reports. You know, the member can go into her profile and say, well, you know, I'm feeling okay today. I'm doing fine. And that works when they do the work. So it's also good when the volunteer goes in, you know, you have a buddy system and the buddy calls the member and they can go log into the system and enter that, how the check-in went. In some cases, you know, a volunteer is doing the check-in, but then they're letting the village office know. This is something, for example, the way is what, you know, we did this for Next Village in San Francisco. I think they are done around 1,500 check-ins already. In some cases, they received the check-in from a volunteer. They heard about it from email or another system. And they need to enter on the system who did the check-in initially, what volunteer did it. So now it's possible on the same form, if you're an admin, to say who's the volunteer that did that check-in for the village. Okay, and this is the most exciting part of the meeting. So I think I hope you have some energy, and I know Joanne is looking at the clock, so let's get ready. This is the impact reports. So we're adding a new report on on report area, and we're preparing a message we're going to send out to all villages, and that looks like this. Let me see, just making this a little bigger so that everyone can see. Okay, so we added a new report, and the goal of this new impact report is to provide more funding for villages. Now, how does that work? Basically, everyone knows that a village plays an essential role in their community, but sometimes it's hard to explain people what a village does. It's like, oh, I'm with a New York City village. It's like, oh, what does your organization do? And all villages have their definitions. We help support older adults age in their own homes and stuff. But we have heard also very often that there are anecdotal examples that work great, right? It's like, oh, well, the kind of stuff we do is that Mrs. Smith, who's 90, was able to get a ride to go to the doctor because we have a wonderful volunteer that did that for her. So that some people define that on what happened to this one volunteer once, but it's a great example. Now, what we think is that even though those anecdotal examples work great and are, create a deep emotional connection, more sophisticated villages should be able to provide funders with the measurable results. So not only an anecdote, which is great, but we can do some more. And for that reason, we introduced a new feature this month, which is a great announcement we are making today, which is the impact reports. So an impact report is basically a one-pager summary of the activities of the village, the impact of the village on the local community. And this is something, in some cases, is you're talking with your city mayor or you're talking to a local foundation, etc. These people are gonna maybe listen for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, so you cannot go on with a long, description of anything. You need to give them a snapshot of what the village is, right? So you can give your example. And then basically, we're creating a one-pager that would look like this, right? It's like, here's an overview of our village. So you wanna know about us. So we are New York City village. And in the last 12 months, we are providing older adults in our community with 2.5 additional real-life social connections. So this is because the village exists, on average, every member on our village gets to talk to 2.5 people more than if they were not on the village. By the way, let me tell you that we are a village with 238 members. We have 82 volunteers, and we have provided in these 12 months over 45,000 hours. The different activities that we do is that, we organize a different number of events. These events are very well attended and by 393 event attendance participations. We provide around 800 members a month, and we also do a number of check-ins with our members that go up to 144 on average each month. Besides the services and social activities that we provide at our village, we also are quite active getting the word out there. So we send a number of outreach email messages through MailChimp, that account for 412 messages in the last month, and of which we have an opening rate of 50%. And we actively recruit for members and volunteers. These are the number of prospecting tasks that we have done every month. So basically, the numbers are not all that important. What is really important to us is that give you with a snapshot of the impact of your village. Like, you can hand this out to your mayor or your local foundation, and this is not only an anecdotal example, but this is the facts and figures of the impact we're having on our community. So obviously, that this data is something that is often required by grants and donors and stuff like that, and we want to make it easy, just a click of a button, so that your village can provide that to these stakeholders in your community. So we're very excited about this new addition. You will find it on the reports page of your village starting this weekend. So let me go back to
Manuel, can I ask you about that?
Absolutely.
It's Susan from La Miranda. That is a fabulous report. Thank you so much. That's going to be hugely helpful for us in so many ways. Mm-hmm. Could you go back to it for a second? Yeah. Is it customizable? Or is it a PDF? Can we cut and paste pieces of this and use it for other marketing pieces? Or
Yeah, it's a great point. So at this point, it's a PDF, so it's not customizable. But obviously, you know, something that I was very interested by that, because when we were thinking about that, it was like, oh, you know, I know some villages have activated village maps, which is a great way to show, well, this is how many people we're helping. So it could be ideal to edit the map in the document. So one thing that could be a good, you know, I think is quite exciting is like we could do kind of a Word template or something. And then maybe you need to copy paste some stuff. I mean, I like your idea, but at this point it's only a PDF, and we may want to, you know, allow for more customization.
Okay, thank you.
And Manuel, one other question. This is Judy from Rainy Day Village in Oregon.
Yes.
Is the timeline, can we choose the timeline, like make it 6 months or 18 months or 2 years?
Yeah,
or is that just set?
Yes, so no, for now it's set. And but obviously, great point. I know your village, I mean, some villages have been in existence for 10 years, so kind of it makes sense to show results for the last 12 months. For newer villages that have gotten a ton of you know, action in the last 2 or 3 months, would be a, you know, pity to average that over 12 months. So it's a great point. So, you know, that will go straight into the improvement ideas process we just announced.
Well, and with the virus and people having villages delivering differently.
Yeah.
You might only want a 9 months.
So, absolutely. So you know what we're gonna say? I think this is super. I mean, this report is a special report. I'm happy you have so many questions about it, because it's not only the information that is on that report, but I think it's also a mindset for your village. It's like knowing that, you know, if you have just the summary of the results and the impact, right? The key performance indicators of your village. So definitely, we were discussing about how to showcase them to stakeholders in the community, but it also can be used internally for yourself, right? Saying, well, you know, this is actually where we are. For example, let me show you a specific example here with events attendance, right? If you look here, events, you have more events that people attending those events, and that could look weird. The reason for that is that, you know, you need to be careful that when people register for events, that you change their status to present at those events. So, you know what I mean? Is that
well today, and we will start today's meeting here minute or two. But before we start, I want to ask if you have any questions from any of the previous meetings, anything you wanted to ask. This is
okay, sorry. Everyone there, I guess, but just muted everyone. So you can all unmute yourself, but just, you know, there was some background noise. So if you want to go in the conversation, please feel free to do so. Yeah, basically where I was at. So it's, yeah, great to talk to external people, and in the coronavirus and anyone you can talk to is great. And also internally, actually the report has more pages. You have this one, is a one-pager you can talk to external parties. And we have the kind of a very similar one that we're doing for the board that includes more information, right? So if you look in here, for example, here we're only showing for external communication the numbers that look good. So in this case, we have 200 members, 82 volunteers, and that's it, right? But if you look at the one that can be used internally, it's also including the data that can be, you know, improved over time. So for example, there is 3 providers only in the database. The board can discuss at a board meeting and say, well, you know, we're doing great here. We're doing great with volunteers. We're doing great with community hours. We want to improve the number of providers that we're recommending, right? So, and there are other charts, etc. So, anyways, let's go back to the conversation. I think it's really important that villages start operating on, well, basically on performance and efficiency of the villages that can be showcased to other people. Jody, does it answer your question? I went on for too long, but basically what I wanted to say is that, yeah, your improvement ideas about the date span and the date range is great. Just we will add that going forward.
Yep, thank you.
But you know what? Just please remember to submit it to the improvement ideas form so that it gets a number. But obviously, you already know that we think you would really like it. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. We're going slightly over time, so I think we try to go quickly for the last 5 minutes. So we have questions and answers. I'll go back to the questions and answers. I want to show just this one, which is kind of the priorities that we are going to work on for the next month. Essentially, eventually we may work on the impact report. If you have feedback about it, just let us know when you see it. As usual, the improvement we discussed today are not available on the village websites today. They will become available this weekend when we deploy them to the server, right? And then this is our, once you receive it, you can look at your impact report, and we would be happy to hear your feedback. And if we need to make improvements for next month, it's something we're happy to do. For the June release, we will be working essentially on the reporting issues and reporting ideas. So if you have improvement ideas or that are on the list, you can let us know about those. That's kind of the main topic. So if you have some questions about reports that are there, just let our team know, and those will be the higher priorities. The last one is an interesting request we got from coastal neighbors in Massachusetts. Is that village builder requests are the requests that are done when you're not volunteering for a member, but you're volunteering for the village. Usually it can be envelope stuffing, data entry, accounting, recruiting, or something. But they were doing a very interesting operation where they were requesting volunteers that needed to do something for the village that is happening at a specific place. So now, from next month, it will be possible to say, well, we need to have 2 or 3 volunteers that get together at a particular location, and then from that location, they know where this service request happens. So that's what we're working on, and obviously, improvement ideas and bug reports that we have on the process.
So Manuel, the village builder request.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to be able to have it where we can add more than one person to a request?
Yes. So it's a good point. So it's a great point.
I think I had it on the list at one time.
We have heard from different villages, like when you need someone, like say, oh, we need 5 volunteers to do something, right?
Right.
And we think it's a good idea. It's interesting, and want to go there. The only thing is not as obvious. Sometimes, the way the system is built, we send the evaluation form to the requested volunteer. We know if the request is matched or not matched. So it's an improvement we want to do, but it's a little harder to do. So
I would imagine the programming would be a little more difficult.
It's kind of quite interesting. You know why I like your question is because it explains a little bit of the priorities on the improvement ideas list, right? It's like when it's something important, we want to do it quickly or as soon as possible. Also, when it's easy to do, right, it gets done easier. When it's like this, when it's saying, oh my God, if we go into there, but then what happens to the service evaluation process? How do we manage the status of a request when, okay, is it matched? For example, let's say that you want 5 volunteers and you have only found 2 so far. Well, what's the status of that request? So basically, that one is a good idea, but it just haven't finished figuring it out how to do it. And then basically that's what.
And maybe you don't have to do the evaluation on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could take that part out, but I get what you're saying,
Yeah. So what I mean is that it's great that we hear about you on that one. I know other villages have commented on it too, and I think it's great. It's just same thing as I was saying before. If other villages think that they need that, let us know about how important that is for you, and then we'll put that on the schedule as soon as possible. Okay, so that's for it. Then great question, by the way, right moment, because this is we're a little bit over time. But I'll stay on the call. I mean, if someone needs to go, obviously feel free to go. If for those that are still on the call that have questions and answers, I'll still be here for 5 to 10 minutes. Before we can go into Q&A. I wanted to let you know that there is another webinar next week. So if you may want to keep those questions for those that are Village to Village Network members. We probably have more time for questions and answers next week. So if it's something super urgent, you want to ask it now. If you think it's something that can, deserves more time, it can be discussed at the next week webinar. You probably want to keep that for next week.
Well, for next week, I would appreciate having some questions because sometimes, we're doing this the way that the Village to Village Network people want us to do, and we need to show that we're coming prepared. And so I've been copying what's in the chat and writing down notes on what people are asking about, so that if you have some questions that we don't have time to answer today or that are really juicy topics for discussion, I already put it in the chat. You can send it to my email, or you can put it in the chat here for right now.
Perfect. I think that's the best way. I mean, unless there are, you know, urgent questions that we. But
I have an urgent question.
Okay,
I have
let's do the urgent questions. Sarah, you wanted to.
Thank you. My urgent question is regarding the new process with your ticket numbers. I have, first of all, how are you dealing with multiple tech questions at a time? And what is your time, what is the time frame I can expect to receive an actual response rather than your ticket number is 154?
Absolutely, yes. So, so we just got started with a new, you know, way. We got people submitting improvement ideas to the report system, so we're getting adapted to it. So I will not have a perfect answer to your question. We just need to have, you know, get more used to it and do it better. Definitely, the whole point of us redesigning the customer support process is that we can answer, you know, the support question faster, and that improvement ideas don't get in the middle of that conversation.
Right. Well, my question, I mean, only because now I'm on a second version and it's at least a 7 to 10 days to receive a response. And at this point, I mean, this is I mean, apparently improvement questions seem to be a real big thing, but I'm not getting the questions answered to non-improvement, just how to function. So,
thank you, Sarah, for letting us know. This is
that's my question. And following the agenda would be helpful for time management.
Okay, perfect.
This is Margie. I have a real quick question, I think. Did I miss an announcement that the Stripe fees had changed?
No. I mean, well, first, I was not aware of any.
Well, when we first got our first Stripe charges, they were the same as PayPal's.
Okay.
And now they're not.
Okay, that's interesting. First, thank you for letting us know. Villages set up their account with Stripe directly, and the fee that is applied doesn't go through Helpful Village. It's a Stripe, village relationship. I'm surprised.
All right, I'll contact Stripe, but I don't remember getting any information.
No. Please let us
know,
because you know what I mean.
It's not a huge difference, but I'll figure out what it is and ask them if the fee changed. I mean, we submitted the paperwork and everything, so it should be, nonprofit fee structure.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding is that Stripe had some changes in, the policy or stuff like that. We have some villages in Portland that set up 2 different Stripe accounts, one for donations, one for payments. So I think it's a good idea to get back in touch with them and see what they say. We can, just to let you know, technically we can also allow villages to have 2 separate Stripe accounts on the website, one for donations, one for payments. If that's, is that what you need? Okay, perfect.